Hey everyone, it is Evan here from the Trade Risk on Wednesday, May 27th. We are intraday right now, and this is our weekly swing trade ideas video where we bring you some of the names from our watch list, stocks that are holding up well, showing some relative strength, and ideally are not yet too extended in their move. As always, these videos are powered by our partners over at Investors Business Daily. We curate ideas from their stock lists. You can get access to their stock lists with a link in the description of this video. Now, before we jump into today's trade ideas, I want to take a quick tour around just the U.S. averages. We did not publish our midweek video yesterday on Tuesday. Generally, when there's a holiday, markets closed on Monday for Memorial Day, tend to skip the midweek video just because not a whole lot generally changes from the analysis on Friday, which is our long form weekly recap video, to Tuesday's usual lighter weight version. So let's take a quick tour around. It was an eventful kickoff to the week because we did see just a surge across all markets, really, or certainly equity markets, to the upside. So for the S&P 500, for instance, we talked about on Friday this 5-day consolidation right here at resistance. And you can see yesterday we popped to the upside. We closed up 1.23%. We did get as high as almost 2% on the day for the S&P 500, but we did fade back down. You can see today sort of a mixed session. It's currently green right now at the time of recording this. There's still a few hours left in the trading day, but you can see it has been a little bit more volatile as we tried to come back down and fill this gap. All in all, though, the S&P 500 holding above 2940 is a net constructive sign here and suggests sort of continued action to the upside. If we start losing 2940, if we abruptly lose 2940 and start falling back into this old range, that's another story. That's a good line in the sand to trade against on the downside. Same thing for the Russell 2000 here, continuing its move to the upside. Switch over to our other board. You can see breaking out to new relative highs here in this move. We're into the gap here, basically filled the majority of this gap back from the 9th of March. So the Russell 2000, the more beaten up areas of the market, continue to lead. And what's interesting here is that the NASDAQ 100, which was, again, technology, everyone knows the strongest leading group here out of the turmoil of the first quarter, is now taking a bit of a breather. In fact, it was down about 2% earlier today. You can see it's well off of the lows right now, but on a net basis here, still underperforming a little bit. Just really what I would consider, I guess at this point, rotation out of some of these strong groups into the more beaten up names, and that's sort of what we're seeing right now. So that's the landscape heading into, at least from just the quick view here at equity markets of what we're dealing with right now. Let's jump into some trade ideas, our usually sort of scheduled names. The first one here, so we got 2 from IBD's watch list and 2 from our watch list. So we're going to start things off with IBD's lists, and this is BAND Bandwidth. This is the first name we're highlighting here. Generally speaking, when we look at this move, it's had just an extraordinary run, basically a double in 3 months off of the lows of March to the highs just 2 weeks ago. You can see it went from about 55 all the way up to almost 120. So a very, very strong, impressive move. Big volume coming in throughout the early month of May, but now it's starting to cool off and pull back, and that's where it starts to get interesting. Of course, if you were in this earlier, then you've got good profits that you can continue to potentially trail a stop, or maybe you book some on the way up. For me, no position here, like the breakout to all-time highs, like the increased volume on this move to all-time highs. So for me, this is suggestive of a stock that I would like to purchase at a reasonable price. The fact that it is now pulling back here seems is starting to get more reasonable to me, down around 100, under $100 into the mid 90s or so, that would be a good spot, at least where I'd start to get much more interested. Right now it's cooling off, it's pulling back, it's doing it in pretty orderly fashion, volume is light, so simply here I just want to pay attention to it. It's a watch list name. I don't necessarily want to jump in and purchase it right now, but I want to be watching this price action. If I'm trading off technicals and on a chart like this, I'd just be waiting for some of that support to get demonstrated, get a nice higher low in there, and potentially look for a lower risk entry. So BAND, that's the first name there, coming from IBD's watch list. Number 2 is ZYXI. It's a very similar pattern here. And in fact, an equally impressive move. So this is a much smaller cap stock here. So we're looking at micro nano cap stock, trading again 2 months ago around $9, got as high as $21, 130% move in just 3 months. So extremely aggressive mover here in this particular name. You can see increased volume continues to rise, but we have a similar pattern now where it's starting to cool off and pull back. So essentially kind of the same comments from BAND, which we just looked at. As this starts to pull back here, start to get more interested in it. If we go to a weekly time frame here, again, you can see trading at all-time highs. This thing used to be, a penny stock just 3 years ago, and is now back to or now it's joined sort of the big leagues up here, trading at a much higher valuation and a much more higher price. So for me, getting back around $15 or so, getting more into this pullback, 20, 30, 40% pullback from these highs starts to get interesting. That's where I'd be paying attention to it. Right now, not necessarily interested in jumping in and buying anything here, just something to pay attention to. Now, number 3 stock for today, comes from our watch list, the Trade Risk 150. This is our 7th rated stock, so we rate our stocks every week. There's about 100 names on that list right now. This is number 7 in terms of quality for potential. Ranking is effectively exactly what you would think it would be. The most attractive stocks in our eyes. From a technical perspective, FRPT, a little more of a boring name or boring space than some of these other stocks we just looked at. This is still a smaller cap stock, but in the defensive space. Fresh Pet, it's consolidating here. We got some lower highs in place. We got some higher lows in place. It's trading just under its highs, all-time highs, that is. If we zoom out, you can see just an extraordinary uptrend that it's been in since 2016. So it's getting nice and tight here. Volume's drying up. Kind of just waiting and waiting to see which way this ends up tipping here. Frankly, even a little bit lower, maybe some type of false breakdown. This looks good to me, in the mid 60s or so. Otherwise, if we're looking for breakouts and momentum, then it's got to start clearing over, the upper 70s to start get going, or to continue and to turn this into a continuation pattern. So FRPT, like it, comes from our watch list, and again, just kind of keeping it there. No trigger yet, no interest right here, but watching this consolidation. Number 2, from our watch list, and in fact, this is the number 2 ranked stock on our list. Again, a sector that I don't particularly like right here, which is financials, financial services. So a little bit of a different color there, but MKTX, you can see certainly marching to its own beat here, trading just under its all-time highs. Again, looks a lot different than a traditional kind of XLF financial ETF, so to speak. So MKTX looking good here, pulling back off of highs. Again, we have very similar patterns in all the stocks we're looking at this week. We've had just these good big run-up breakouts to new all-time highs off of the March, from the March lows, and now we're all sort of in the position here of starting to pull back. So I like the pullback, like the lower risk entry into the mid to lower 400s here. Starts to make sense, starts to look interesting to me. Again, this comes from our watch list, the number 2 ranked stock for this week. So that is it. Those are the trade ideas for Wednesday the 27th. Hopefully you guys are doing well out there. Thanks so much, as always, for tuning in and watching. Every Wednesday we do trade ideas just like this. You can subscribe on our YouTube channel or follow us at The Trade Risk. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you back here on Friday.